Well,
Fair
guys, we've had some great games in Central Texas so far this season. And just on paper, week 4 shapes up no differently. I saw a tweet from Greg Tepper at Texas Football, where he said that there are 31 matchups this week between 2 undefeated teams. And just looking at his list, I think he's probably talking about 11-man football. I didn't see any 6-man games in there. So
Itasca was one of them.
Do what?
Go ahead. Never mind. Go ahead.
3 of those games involve teams from our area. So we've got number 10 Connally, and yes, the Cadets did finally crack the state rankings. And they're facing an old district rival in number 2 China Spring. Clearly our game of the week. That should be a fun one. And then we've got Bartlett traveling to Itasca. I think that's 2-0 versus 3-0. One of those teams hasn't played 3 games. And then 3-0 Blooming Grove facing 3-0 Wortham. So out of the 4 Central Texas teams in that mix, which are Conley, China Spring, Itasca, and Wortham, how many will still be undefeated going into next week?
At least one.
At least one. At least one. That is the way math works. Thank you. What do you think?
I think at least 2.
You
Go
say
ahead,
at least
DJ.
2? Which 2?
Yeah. Wortham for sure, I feel like has been doing super well. I mean, just looking off their numbers and the reports that we get. Obviously, I haven't gotten the chance to see them play, but I think they've got a pretty good shot of getting the win this week. I don't want to pick between China Spring and Connally. I don't.
It's going to be a good game.
Was the question how many or which ones?
Well, I asked how many, and then I put both y'all on the spot asking which ones too. How many did you say?
I think probably 2 is a good. Okay, here's the thing about it. Itasca Bartlett is the least likely game on that to make that list.
And can we give it up for Ricky Torres, who of course is Ruben Torres's brother. He was an assistant at Marlin and got that Itasca job. Got it fairly late. I want to say it was in the summer when he got that job, and we know how that transition is a lot of times when you come in, sort of right before practice starts, and you have to kind of hit the ground running, and he's got him off to a pretty good start.
Right, and I mentioned that being an unlikely matchup of undefeated teams. I just looked it up real quick. They have 5 wins between them. Last year, the entire season, they had 3 wins between them.
Yeah.
So, in fact, I was scrolling down that tweet, just like you said, and I was like, oh, Itasca Bartlett is an undefeated matchup. Not exactly Austin Westlake, Converse Judson, but
No.
So here's the thing about the Conley China Spring game. It's probably going to hinge on Jelani McDonald's availability for Conley. He was banged up, looked like an ankle injury or some sort of lower leg injury in that Cameron Yo game. They were still able to win it as Kiefer Sibley came through with some big runs in the 4th quarter on the game-winning drive, even though McDonald was out. But China Spring with Cash McCollum versus Connally with the backup quarterback, that does not bode well for Conley. But I mean, Connolly's sitting there at 3-0, and I don't think with their schedule we would have said, "Hey, Connolly's a slam dunk to be 3-0." So don't count out the Cadets.
Yeah, no doubt. And even though La Vega now is sitting at 1-2, I still count that Conley win over La Vega as a pretty impressive victory. In terms, at the time, I think we may have described it as, kind of knocking off Big Brother. Well, I feel like this is another chance for Conley to do that. Can they knock off two big brothers in non-district? We'll see. I mean, that's going to be tough. I think China Spring has the rightful edge in this matchup, but a lot of talent on the team for both teams, and I do think you make a really good point, Chad, about Jelani McDonald's availability. I mean, obviously, you never want to lose your stud player, your quarterback. I mean, he's a guy who does a lot of things for you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
You know, a couple things about these teams that I thought are interesting. So DJ and I were doing Stats Plus this week. Chad, you remember those days?
At some point, I intend to pitch in, but on Monday I was traveling from Lubbock to Granbury, so for my nephew's football game.
No worries. We had it under control. But so Kiefer Sibley, you mentioned him, is leading Central Texas in rushing, over 500 yards through the first 3 games. That's pretty good.
I mean, that's pretty good. But Javion Sunday would be like, "What? You ain't got 1,000 yet?"
Yeah, so Javion Sunday was a former Conley running back, now at I assume he's still at the University of Washington.
Right.
And yeah, he was pretty good.
Yeah, I covered like their 4th game of the year one year, and he had 1,000 yards in the 4th game. So
yeah, that's craziness. And then Tanner Bean, who, Chad, you'll remember Tanner Bean, Wortham, who pretty much led our area in rushing all last season. I think he's 2nd right now behind Sibley with like maybe 480 something yards. So maybe there's something to running the ball a lot that leads to wins.
Never hurts, does it?
No, it doesn't hurt. Running the ball, play good defense. We've heard that formula work in football before. So